You're watching the RebZone Sports Show on Fox 5.
Straight ahead in the RebZone, a tale of two games as UNLV puts together a solid effort on both ends of the floor against San Jose, but struggles defensively at Air Force. Head coach Marvin Menzies is in studio to break down both games. Plus, a look at the week ahead with a rematch against New Mexico and a roadie in San Diego. And we sit down to chat with senior guard Kris Clyburn to talk about how his role has changed this season. It's time to kick it in the RebZone. We're talking 30 minutes of Runnin Rebels hoops right now.
This is the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
Welcome inside the RebZone. Kevin Bollinger alongside Runnin Rebels head coach Marvin Menzies. Coming off a week with a loss early in the week, but a good bounce back on Saturday. I guess a good testament to the team kind of seeing adversity and then coming back and handling the business that they needed to.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. You play every game for a win. Those are the obvious things, right? You play to get lessons. You hate to get those lessons with a loss. But for me as an instructor and as a teacher of the game and a teacher of life to these young men, those are really the opportunities to get your points across about how to handle adversity, because it's coming in life, and it's coming in all kind of different faces, and you might not know it, but when it hits you, you know it's hit you. So how do you handle those situations, and what are going to be your responses to whatever that negative event is, and that's going to determine your outcome. And so when you have a tough game like that, I really kind of sit back and go, okay, good. I got it. Not good we lost, but good. Here goes a great teachable moment. Now, how do I get them to respond? And you learn more about your team through those kind of moments. So obviously we had a good response, and I learned a lot about my guys.
Well, let's start our look back at the week with Saturday's dominating win against San Jose State. A Saturday afternoon special as San Jose State came to the Thomas & Mack. UNLV had it cranked up from the get-go. Kris Clyburn gets it started with the baseline drive for the reverse lay-in. Then Joel Tombwe drives and he goes glass. Noah Robotham, Amari Hardy, and Bryce Hamilton buried back-to-back threes. Everybody was getting in on the action. Then Hardy drives, he goes glass. And the Rebs run. Nick Blair feeds Jonathan Chamwachachua for the dunk. Blair followed that with a triple. The steal by Hamilton, over the shoulder for the save, and then he releases, gets the ball back and finishes on the other end, all part of a 21-3 UNLV run. Clyburn and Trey Woodbury buried three-pointers, and Tombwe, all alone, has time to set up for the triple. More strong play as Chamwachachua feeds Woodbury inside for the lay-in. Then in transition, the kick out to Robotham for the three. The half capped off by Noah feeding Nunu inside for the hoop. The Rebs clicking on all cylinders as they led 46-25 at the break. UNLV opened the second half with a 7-0 run. The steal and Robotham finishes on the other end. Then Chamwachachua gets a hook in the lane and Tombwe knocked down a triple. Next trip down, Tombwe drops a catch-and-shoot three. Hardy gets in on the action. The drive, spin, and the dish to Clyburn for the lay-in. Robotham and Tombwe hit back-to-back threes to open up the lead to 32. Marvin Coleman drives, and he goes high off the glass. And the capper as the Rebs get the ball ahead to Hamilton for the flush. The Runnin Rebels get balanced scoring, shoot 52% from the field, and they look solid on both ends of the floor as UNLV takes care of business against San Jose, 94-56.
I think the biggest thing with the Air Force game was obviously our defense. Our offense was fine, but our defense was not the standard that we have on this team. So to come back and have a team score 56 points, it's just a step in the right direction.
There was definitely a challenge set. We took a hard punch from Air Force, and we definitely wanted to make a statement to let everybody know that, we can bounce back from something like that. So the challenge was set, and I thought we did a good job stepping up to that challenge for sure.
We talked about the challenge, and I'm sure that the coaches challenged the players. I'm sure the players challenged themselves within the locker room this week, and it results in a total team effort, really, where everybody contributed in so many different phases.
Yeah, there's so many things that can affect a young man's psyche, you know, when he's a college student, and we've had the luxury of having some extra time to work on basketball from a shooting standpoint, from a team chemistry standpoint. There's a lot of things that we've been able to do to grow as a team since we didn't have classes. So we're about to start back with that, so now we got to manage that whole deal. But they did a great job in the classroom before. We weren't playing the best basketball that we could have, but it was very young in the season. So now that we've got a little synergy moving in the right direction, I don't see any slippage in front of us.
We heard from Nick Blair there at the end. Here's a guy who didn't get a lot of minutes until the last couple of weeks, but is making significant contributions, 12 rebounds yesterday, had some big plays also up in Air Force, pouncing on his opportunity when the time arises.
You know, it's interesting because, you know, Nick and I are pretty close, and so I see his contributions all the time, and he's one heck of a tough guy. He's a loyal guy. He's committed. He's mentally tough. He does all the right things in practice. So I was really happy that he had an opportunity to actually contribute on the floor this year. But he's been helping us all year. It's not like just in the games, you know, he hasn't had a chance to do that. But he's been helping the young guys with how he approaches practice, how he approaches life. And, you know, so it's good to see him, you know, reap some fruits of his labor.
15 of 31 from three-point range. The shooting has really developed here over the last couple of weeks. I know the guys are getting a lot of shots up. On the flip side, if they fall in love with a three-pointer in 31 attempts, where is that comfort zone for you in terms of number of attempts from three, or do you kind of just have to go with how the flow of the game is going?
It's definitely a feel, and it's a feel for a player as well. I mean, if you're 0 for 6, do you take that seventh? Well, yes, if you're Noah, you know, if you're Amari, if you're Kris, maybe and even Joel, but maybe there's some other guys that say, hey, okay, you know, let me shot fake and get to the rack. Let me go make a play for someone else. Let me help us win the game. What can you do to help us win the game? And sometimes your shots don't fall. Sometimes they do. But there's no particular number. You do want a nice amount of attempts just based on your production, and just statistically, it's proven that that's, you know, I'm not a big super analytics guy, but I have adapted some to that philosophy. So again, it just comes back down to a feel of the game and a flow of the game, and what's working and what do we need to do to help us win the game.
Well, we do have to go look at Wednesday night as well, as the Runnin Rebels had some defensive issues as they visited Air Force. More than 1,500 cadets packed into tiny Clune Arena to make for a raucous atmosphere as UNLV took on Air Force. After Kris Clyburn hit an early three, Ryan Swan answered with a triple of his own, and Lavelle Scotty drove to the hole for a basket. Joel Tomboy went glass for his first two of the game, and the back and forth began. Swan up strong for the bucket and the bump. Clyburn drives in for the lay-in, and the feed inside to Nick Blair. He gets the hoop and the harm, and then it's Blair again with the offensive rebound and putback, and a triple for the Las Vegas product. It was 16-15 Falcons, and that's when Air Force went on a little run. The feed to Caleb Morris for the and one, and then a three by Morris, all part of a 10-0 Air Force run to open up a double-digit lead. UNLV tried to climb back in it. Tomboy knocked down a jumper, and Amari Hardy drained a corner three. Back came the Academy. Swan gets the roll inside. Then the drive for the three-point play to push it back to 31-20. UNLV answered. The steal by Tomboy. He heads coast to coast and throws it down. Then Noah Rabantham straight to the hole for the lay-in, and Trey Woodbury gets in on the action with a triple. That is when things fell apart. Purvis Louder, the baseline drive. Nobody is there to defend him, and he slams it home. Off the UNLV turnover, Air Force scores in transition, and Morris hit back-to-back three-pointers as things opened up, and Air Force had a 48-34 lead at the half. UNLV tried to get some mojo going in the second. Tomboy down low, and then a three for Joel. Clyburn got an offensive rebound and drove for two, and Tervel back with the steal. And in transition, the Rebs find Clyburn for a quarter three. But every time UNLV inched closer, Air Force turned it up a notch, and the Rebels' struggles on the defensive end continued. Swan gets the inside bucket. Chris Joyce nailed a trifecta. Then Joyce feeds Amika Akaye for the slam. A critical possession midway through the second. Akaye gets the bucket and the foul. He misses the free throw, and Scotty gets the offensive rebound and putback for a 4-point possession to open things back up. One last push by UNLV. Hardy hits a three. The steal by Rebotham. He feeds Bryce Hamilton from the ground, who drives to the lay-in. And Hardy hits another triple. But this was all Air Force. Joyce drives for two, then hits a three. And the exclamation point from Scotty with the slam to reach the century mark. UNLV makes 14 three-pointers, but they miss 12 free throws, and they allow Air Force to shoot nearly 60% from the floor while getting out-rebounded for the first time this season. It all adds up to a frustrating night in Colorado Springs as Air Force dominates in a 106-88 win.
They ran a lot of stuff, had a lot of counters for every time we tried to get a stop. Really couldn't just get like a lot of stops in a row, which made it hard for us. Kept trading buckets, and ultimately that's what led to their leads.
All right, obviously this game really decided on the defensive end of things. Now that you had a chance to go back and look at the game tape, where was the breakdown in this game?
We have another half hour. It was, Amari kind of put it in a nutshell. It was the ability to get consecutive stops and get any kind of defensive rhythm. And you have to credit Air Force for their ability to make shots, make open shots. We had a lot of defensive miscues. And I said it publicly after the game. I just felt like I did not give us a scouting report that was conducive to a young team, to keep it very simple. Even though they have a complex offensive system, I needed to give our guys some stuff that I thought they could have played a little bit more relentless and a little more just free defensively. It's tough against those guys, but we'll have a different script obviously going into the next game. We won't use the same one. I think Dave will know that already, so not releasing too much inside information here. But and we'll get a chance to catch them at home and hopefully redeem ourselves.
Ibaka Jong's been out since the second half there of the New Mexico game. What's the update on his status in terms of when he's going to be able to come back?
I'm really kind of leaning more on the medical team and the athletic trainers and Ibaka himself, because now it's not a matter of surgery, or it's not a matter of staying in a cast for a certain amount of time or anything of that nature. He's walking around. He's on his own. Energy and so forth. So we'll see. It's really going to be about how much he can do and how soon he can do it. He is able to do some different drills and stuff now he wasn't able to do last week. So he's progressing. It was a re-injured ankle that he hurt. So or re-injured an ankle that had previously the same exact injury. So there's a lot of laxity, I think is a word, in the actual ankle. So it made it a little bit more probably a more lengthier heel than it would have been normally.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. We're going to take our first break right now. When we come back, a look at the week ahead, including a rematch with New Mexico and a tough road test in San Diego. RebZone, back in just 2 minutes.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
A big week ahead for the Runnin Rebels as New Mexico comes in looking to even the score, and UNLV travels to the always tough Viejas Arena in San Diego. Tuesday night at the Thomas & Mack, New Mexico comes in, and the Lobos will have revenge on their mind with a fresh memory. It was just 2 weeks ago that UNLV went into the pit and outscored New Mexico by 18 in the second half to pull away for a huge 80-69 win. Lobo head coach Paul Weir pinpointed the loss on guard play.
I think their ball pressure just smothered our guards. Unfortunately, that's been our MO for a while. Our guards' inability to kind of handle pressure and get the ball inside. And I think their guards just really bothered us on the perimeter and turned us over and just kind of got to us out there. And that's been our thing all year. We've got to find a way to get, those guards just flat out outplayed us. And we've got to get better production there.
Expect a lot of adjustments from New Mexico for this one. Whether it's personnel, zone versus man, or post touches, there's going to be some new wrinkles for the Rebels to handle. This is a critical game because getting a sweep in the season series also gives the tiebreaker to UNLV while stockpiling as many conference wins as you can get. That's because the road keeps getting tougher, as evidenced by Saturday's game at San Diego State, a place that UNLV has lost 9 of the last 10 years, with the only win coming in 2013. The Aztecs have had some stretches of struggles this season, but they have the athletes capable of putting together a strong 40 minutes at any time. SDSU is always going to bring an in-your-face mentality the length of the floor.
Aztec basketball always starts with defense and rebounding, and so we have to continue to defend at a high level. We can't change who we are. We have to defend at a high level, and then I want to play faster. Everybody does. I always say it's easy to say all the team wants to play fast, but then you got to want to run. So don't put that on the coaches. Put that on yourself. You want to play fast, we'll play as fast as you can get up and down the floor.
Then there's Viejas Arena. It's one of the toughest places to play in the Mountain West, and the student section, known as the Show, always seems to step up for UNLV. Handling the environment off the court and the Aztecs' pressure on the court going to be keys to coming back with a win. All right, let's focus on New Mexico because that's the one coming up here on Tuesday night. You know Paul Weir well. You're going to see a lot of different things on Tuesday than you did in Albuquerque 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, at this stage of the season, you have your full package into your program offensively and defensively, and Paul's not the only guy that's going to change things up. We'll see that in the second round of all the games that we are successful. Obviously, those guys aren't going to come out and do the same thing. So you just got to rely on your system now and your guys' comfortability of being able to handle through the course of the game. Like, okay, are they in zone? Are they in man? Or, are they pressing? Are they not pressing? And those kinds of things. It'll happen naturally. I think the fact that we're playing a foe who we've already went against will be the first challenge of us being able to have our senior guards and our experienced guards like Amari. It's going to be a test for those guys to say, okay, they're going to bring it. They're going to bring it. So you got to match and exceed that intensity. So it's really going to be on those guys more than anything.
That's a 7 o'clock tip-off. We'll preview the San Diego game on Friday night on Fox 5 News. Time for us to take another short time out to do some business, but plenty more still ahead in the Red Zone. Up next, we sit down to chat with Kris Clyburn to talk about his final season at UNLV and the one thing that he has to do this season that's out of his comfort zone. Stick and stay.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by R.C. Willey. Your home, your way.
Kris Clyburn has quietly gone about his business in his 3 years at UNLV, but he's been productive in minutes played and points scored, and now he's looking to lead in a senior season. Kris Clyburn has been a steady presence at UNLV, appearing and contributing in almost every game in his 3 years in Las Vegas. He was the first player to sign with Marvin Menzies when the coach was hired. Now, as a senior, he's taking on a leadership role with this young squad.
Especially with Shakur, he's the guy that played major minutes in the conference last year, so me and him played a lot of minutes. So without having him, that's just a bigger role for me and Noah to lead this team. Noah played a lot of conference games at Akron, so he got some experience, and Amari got some experience. Nunu got experience, but just being able to take that role and be able to lead these young guys, because they haven't really seen what's going to happen in conference. And
Part of that leadership is being more vocal in practice, on the court, and in huddles. That goes against Clyburn's quiet demeanor.
as a senior, you know, you got to be able to play that role no matter how comfortable or uncomfortable it is for you, but just going out on a leap and just trying to embrace that role and making my teammates better by doing that.
With UNLV being forced to go small because of injuries, Clyburn and the other guards find themselves in a position where they're banging bodies with other teams' big men.
It's just going to make it tougher on us. We got to guard bigger bigs, so our bigs not that. There's like 4-man guarding a 5-man, so it's going to be tough, but as long as we all stay together, help each other, just stay solid on the defensive end, we'll be pretty solid.
But Clyburn is ready to make a final run through the wild Mountain West.
Every game is a big game for each team. You know, a team might come here and try to sneak one against us, so that's why we got to defend our home floor. Just play every game like it's the biggest game of our life.
And we're back to wrap up the RebZone right after this.
You're watching the Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show, presented by RC Willey. Your home, your way.
All right, Coach, good luck this week. UNLV, New Mexico, Thomas and Mack, 7 o'clock on Tuesday night. We'll hope to see you out there. We leave you tonight with the Runnin Rebel Plays of the Week. Good night.
The Fox 5 RebZone Sports Show was presented by RC Willey. Your home, your